Now let's talk about MIDI and what MIDI is. MIDI is a unique communication system that typically uses these kind of plugs right here. This is a breadboard friendly plug that you could use for prototyping your circuits and use a MIDI cable to connect to a synthesizer or a drum machine. And basically it's a communication protocol where it enables you to press a button or be on a keyboard and then have audio being played through a head unit. Your head unit might be a laptop, or it might even be just a small drum machine with some microcontrollers in there that can generate the audio waveform. So we're going to look at MIDI signals out, not necessarily MIDI in. And we're going to do that by looking at this Music Maker Shield. I use this for playing back high quality audio. You can connect speakers to it. You can play MP3 files off of here. But what's really interesting about the integrated circuit on this board is that it has a built-in MIDI sound bank. So we could send MIDI messages to that integrated circuit and have it output MIDI sounds like a flute or a drum or a bass. So let's go ahead and get this started. Now when you're putting this shield on, you have to be really careful. There's a lot of pins to align here. I think I've got them all lined up. There we go. And I'll unplug it here, plug this one in. And while I'm here, I might as well connect this little speaker so that you can hear it better. I could plug in headphones, I could attach other speakers, but this one's kind of handy to have right here. And since it's MIDI and we're using communications to send signals to this board to then trigger the sounds to be played, it's basically an exercise in software. So let's look at the software. So we'll open up the Arduino IDE, and you're going to need a library. So go to Manage Libraries, and the library for the Music Shield is VS10, and there it is, and I have it installed already. And it's the VS1053. Once you do that, you can go to your examples and see all the different built-in examples that are here. Interrupts MIDI test, and that's what we're going to look at, is the MIDI test right here. There's a couple last things you need to do. If you read the code, you can see right here, if you're using the breakout, if you're using the Music Maker Shield, you need to connect GPIO, general purpose input output, pin number 1 to 3.3 volt. And if you look carefully on here, you'll see I soldered in some header pins right here, and that's the GPIO 1. And this whole column here is 3.3 volts. So by soldering these pins in here, I can actually just jump it over here. And why do I do that? Well, guess what? I prototype a lot of different things with this shield, and I don't want any permanent connections. I want to be able to go back and play MP3s or do whatever I want with this shield. So that's a quick way to make a temporary connection. You also have to connect RX to digital pin 2. So if you look over here, here's the RX pin. I've got one male header pin soldered on, and I've got one soldered on digital pin 2. So with those two connections, I now have MIDI functionality with this integrated circuit on here. I can go ahead and upload the code to the board. I'll plug it in and click upload. So let me go ahead and unplug this. And now what I want you to do is try and figure out how you can change the voice of that or the instrument that's playing with something else. Because essentially the Arduino is sending the MIDI signal to the board's interpreting it and converting that into notes and a specific musical instrument. So go ahead and take a look at that data sheet and see what you can come up with. So go ahead and pause the video now, take a look at that data sheet and see if you can change what instrument is playing. If not, don't worry about it. You can come back, press play, and I'll show you how to do it. So hopefully you were able to figure out how to change the code so that it would play a different instrument. If you didn't, let's go over it real quick. In the data sheet, you can go all the way down to page 32. And I go, wait a minute, how did you know page 32? Well, guess what? All you need to do is look at this line right here, line 34. It tells you to go to page 32 to look for a different instrument. This is an ocarina right now. Let's change it to a harpsichord. That's harpsichord and 7. And all I have to do right here is change this to, let me copy it, get the exact spelling. Harpsichord, 7. And then I scroll down here and I see here's ocarina again, and I will change that to harpsichord. And let's upload that and see what happens. And immediately you can hear the difference in the sound. And if you go back to the datasheet, you can see there are hundreds of things you can add. There's electric guitars and trombones and really anything you can imagine. And it's as simple as sending MIDI signals to the shield. It will interpret it, change it to the musical note, and play the instrument that's built in to the VS1053.